Okay, let's dive into one of the biggest puzzles we all face, motivation. What gets us going, what keeps us going, and maybe most importantly, what makes us just stop. Today, we're going to unpack something called self-determination theory, which is a really powerful way to understand that engine inside all of us.
I mean, seriously, have you ever just stopped and asked yourself that? We've all been there. You get that incredible burst of energy for a new project, a new goal, and then poof, where does it go?
You know the feeling, right? You buy the guitar, you download the language app, you get the fancy running shoes, you are 100% convinced this is the new you. The excitement is totally real.
And then, well, life happens. That initial spark fades, and that brand new guitar basically becomes a very specific and slightly guilt-inducing piece of furniture. But here's the thing. That's not a personal failure. It's just a feature of how motivation actually works. So let's figure out why.
All right, to really get to the bottom of this, we have to start with the two big classic types of motivation. This is kind of the first piece of the puzzle we need to put in place to see what's really going on.
So on one side, you've got intrinsic motivation. This is doing something for the pure joy of it. It's the love of the game. You're coding on a weekend because you just love solving that puzzle. On the other side, you've got extrinsic. This is when you're doing something for an outcome, a paycheck, a good grade, or maybe just to avoid getting in trouble.
It seems like a nice, clean split, doesn't it? But come on, our brains are way messier than that. If you only go to your job for the paycheck, does that mean you have zero passion for what you do? Well, the theory says it's a lot more nuanced than that.
So instead of thinking about motivation like a light switch, it's either on or it's off, we need to see it more like a dimmer switch. It's a whole spectrum, a journey from being pushed by outside forces to being pulled by your own genuine values.
Now this right here, this is the map. This visual lays out that entire journey. It might look like a lot at first, so let's just walk through it together. Way over on the left, you've got amotivation. That's basically zero drive. Then, as we move right, we get into that extrinsic motivation we talked about. But you'll see it has different flavors that get more and more personal, until we hit pure, joyful, intrinsic motivation way over on the right.
Let's start on the far end, the most controlled type. This is external regulation. This is the classic carrot and stick. You are doing something, period, because someone is offering a reward or threatening a punishment. Finish this report by Friday, you get a bonus. Simple as that. The motivation is completely outside of you.
Okay, let's take one step inward. This is where it gets really interesting. It's called introjected regulation. Here, the controller has moved inside your own head. You're not doing it for a bonus anymore. You're doing it to avoid feeling guilty or anxious. You go to that work party you don't want to go to because you feel like you should, and you'd feel bad if you didn't. You've kind of swallowed the rule, but you haven't really made it your own.
Now we're turning a corner. With identified regulation, you actually start to see the personal value in what you're doing. You might not love cleaning the kitchen, but you do it willingly because you genuinely believe a clean, organized space is important for your well-being. You've identified with the goal. You get why it matters to you.
And this brings us to integrated regulation. This is the gold standard of extrinsic motivation. Here, the behavior isn't just important to you, it's become a part of who you are. You exercise not just because you know it's healthy, but because you see yourself as a healthy person. It lines up perfectly with your other values. It feels completely self-chosen.
Okay, so we see the spectrum, from feeling controlled to feeling totally committed. But what's the fuel? What actually moves us along that path from feeling pressured to feeling purposeful?
And this right here, this is the absolute heart of self-determination theory. The big idea is that this entire engine of high-quality motivation, the kind that makes us feel alive, it's all powered by three simple, universal psychological needs.
That's it. Just three. Not some long, complicated list. Just three fundamental things that every single one of us needs to feel motivated and to flourish. And it doesn't matter what culture you're from.
And here they are. Think of these as psychological nutrients, like vitamins for your motivation. First, you need autonomy. That's the feeling that you're in the driver's seat of your own life, that you have choices. Second, competence. That's the need to feel like you're good at what you do, that you're growing and mastering challenges. And third, relatedness. This is the need to feel connected to other people, to feel like you belong. If these things are missing, our motivation just withers.
So here's the really crucial part. If we want to build better, more lasting motivation in ourselves and in other people,
At work, at school, even at home, we need to stop obsessing over the carrots and sticks and start focusing on feeding these 3 basic needs.
And that really all comes down to the environment we're in. On one side, you've got a supportive environment. That's a manager who gives you choices. That fuels your autonomy. A teacher who gives you helpful feedback. That fuels your competence. A team that makes you feel welcome. That fuels your relatedness. But on the other side, a controlling environment does the exact opposite. It uses pressure, criticism, and threats. And that just starves those 3 needs.
And the payoff when we get this right, it's huge. We're not just talking about feeling a little bit better. The research is crystal clear. When our needs for autonomy, competence, and relatedness are met, we see more passion, deeper engagement, way better performance. We stick with things when they get tough, and our overall well-being just skyrockets.
And this quote from DC and Ryan, the researchers who developed this whole theory, it just says it all. We are all born with this natural drive to be curious and engaged. Motivation isn't something you have to install in people. It's already there. You just have to create the right conditions for it to come out.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Look at your job, your hobbies, your relationships. Where does your motivation feel really high quality and self-driven, and where does it feel kind of forced? The answer almost always comes back to whether those 3 core needs are being met. So the real question is, what's one small change you can make starting today to feed one of them?